Perfect.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I got this hair and makeup look. I'm super excited to show you guys how I got it, so let's go ahead and jump right into this tutorial. So today's video is in partnership and sponsored by Beauty Forever Hair. They sent me this really cute wig to try out. I love these types of wigs that have like these really beautiful waves and everything because they're super easy to work with, and these are the types of wigs that I like to wear on a regular day. So today I'm going to be using Beauty Forever's water wave wig. This is 150 density. It's Brazilian hair and it comes in 22 inches. I've been noticing that this like wet hair look is really trendy right now, so I decided to kind of go for that look for today because the eyes are very like aquatic looking. Before I go into styling this hair, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on like the frontal part of the wig first. So I've already bleached the knots on this wig. I'm gonna go ahead and start plucking at the hairline now to make it look more realistic, and then from there I'm gonna go into styling. So now that my hairline's looking all good, I'm gonna go ahead and start styling this hair. You wanna make sure that your hair is like damp before you go into like your styling products. It's just gonna make it a lot easier to achieve like that wet hair look. I'm gonna go ahead and start applying some curl defining mousse. This one is from Silk Elements. I'm using a pretty generous amount of this, and as I'm applying the product and like running it through the hair, I'm also scrunching up the hair as well. So I'm taking the hair from like the bottom and like balling it up in my hands and just kind of like scrunching it to kind of start activating like all the waves and stuff like that, start making the waves look a little bit more defined. Next, I'm going to add some Eco Style gel. You can pretty much use any gel. I don't think it really matters. This is just kind of what I had on hand. So I'm going to take a bit of that gel into my hands, kind of spread it, and then just do the same thing, just kind of scrunch the hair gel into the hair. So that way the waves are a lot more defined. And as the hair dries down, the gel is what's going to make it look more like chunky and kind of give the illusion of that wet hair look, even though the hair is dry. So I went ahead and installed this wig off camera. You guys have seen me install my wigs like a million trillion times. So I just went ahead and did it off camera. I'm gonna go ahead and start styling my edges now. I like to use an edge brush when I'm styling my edges. And as I'm pulling the hairs down with my edge brush, I'm using a little razor to trim them down so I can go back and style them after. Then to lay my edges, I'm going to be using the Lotta Body wrapping foam. I'm using a small amount on the areas where I'm looking to style. And usually at this point, I'm doing any extra trimming, plucking at the hairline, making sure everything is nice and even. So that way, right after I'm done styling my edges, I can go ahead and add my satin scarf and just let it sit while I'm doing my makeup. So because this wig is fresh and I had to do a lot of like plucking and customizing in between like styling and everything, my hair kind of got fluffed out from combing it. So I'm just going to reactivate all the products that I already applied using some water and a little bit of that mousse. And that's pretty much it. That's why I love these types of wigs. They're super easy to work with. They're perfect for like every day. So now that the hair is done, let's go ahead and get into this makeup tutorial. Alright guys, so for this makeup look, I started off priming my eyes using the P. Louise base in the shade Rumour number 4. As always, I'm going to use this to carve the bottom part of my brow and apply this all over my lid to prime for shadows. I've been dying to use this palette again because it's so beautiful. This is the Oceanic palette by Ace Beauty. The colors in here are just so gorgeous and I really wanted to play with this again. So I'm going to be grabbing a couple of colors from here. The first shade I'm going to be using is called Blue Calm. This is going to be the darkest color in this little like cut crease that we're doing on the inside of our brow here. So I'm just going to start applying this in that little dip there right above my eyelid. Then to blend that out, I'm going to take the shade Fiji, and with a clean brush, I'm going to start buffing away at those edges. Before I apply my next shadow, I'm going to add some Fenty Beauty blotting powder onto that little space between that brow bone and that last color that I just applied, just to make it easier to blend in our next shadow. Then for my last transition color, I'm taking the shade Masai from the Try palette by Juvia's Place, and with another clean Morphe M506, I'm going to use this to gently blend out the edges of Fiji. Before I go into cutting the crease, I want to make sure that there's no blue eyeshadow anywhere underneath my base that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to take a bit of cleansing balm. This one is from Pharmacy, and I'm going to use this to cut the crease first. I love doing this before going into cutting a crease because it just makes sure that the area is clean, so that way your base isn't blending in with any of your eyeshadows and changing the color of it. I'm then going to go ahead and start cutting the crease using my base, and I'm using the same shape that I cut with my cleansing balm. And because we cleaned off all that blue eyeshadow, the base is staying true to color, which is exactly what I want because I'm just going to be throwing a translucent powder over this to set it. And to cut the crease, I'm using the P. Louise base again. This is just in a lighter shade. This is Rumour number 2. So I am going to be doing a second cut crease, but before I do that, I want to make sure that the space that I just put down doesn't move anywhere. So I'm just going to be adding a little bit of Fenty Beauty blotting powder right on top, just to make sure it really sets in place and doesn't like shift around. Then to create my second cut crease, I'm going to use the P. Louise bases. These are from the color range. The first shade I'm going to be using is Touch of Frost. It's like a baby blue. I'm going to use this for half the cut crease, and then for the other half, I'm going to use the shade Bangin blue. And just like the first cut crease that we did, I want to make sure that this is a really nice winged shape. So I'm also going to drag that base out toward the end of my brow. Now it's time for shimmer. So I'm gonna add some pigments to the base that I just applied to create an ombre. The first color that I'm gonna be using is from OPV Beauty. They just recently launched a line of loose pigments, and this is one of their new ones in the shade Passion. It's like a white, but it reflects like a bluish purple kind of teal color. So I'm gonna apply that on the inner third of that cut crease, and for the middle and outer portion of the cut crease, I'm gonna go into some Peaches pigments. I'm using Double Denim in the center and Sapphire on the end. Now we just want to clean everything up, make sure our lines are nice and crisp. I'm going to be using my P. Louise base in Rumour number 4. This is the same shade that I used to prime my eyes. And for that finishing touch, I wanted to add a bit of neon liner. This one is from Suva Beauty. This is their Hydra FX liner in the shade Acid Trip. And I'm going to add some line work. I'm pretty much just following the shape of my cut creases. If you're like me and you struggle to create clean, straight lines in one swipe, try getting a really small amount of product on the very tip of your brush and use short little strokes until you get that straight line. I'm then going to apply a couple of coats of mascara to my upper lashes. The mascara I'm using today is from Urban Decay. This one is the Perversion Mascara. It's really volumizing, so it has a really large brush. And this one works okay. It's not like my go-to, but it's good for like putting on lashes and stuff. I'm super excited about my lashes today because they are in collaboration with Crystal Lashes and Zachary Vang. I am such a huge fan of Zach's, and these lashes are absolutely bomb. When I got them in PR and saw them, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to use these. So the lashes that I'm using from the collection are 515. I'm going to pop these on using some tweezers and just kind of squeeze my natural lashes and those falsies together so that you don't see a gap in between the two. Next, I'm going to move on to skin. I'm going to start priming my skin using the E.l.f. Jellypop Dew Primer. I've been really loving this primer. I just love the texture of it. It feels like a gel and it's very thick. And when it starts to dry, you can kind of feel like how tacky it is. So it's like you know that your foundation is just going to last all day long because it has like that primer to hold on to. So I'm just going to press that into my skin using my fingers. And then for foundation today, I'm using the Juvia's Place I Am Magic foundation. This one is in the shade Kampala. So I'm just going to apply that onto my skin and just make sure to buff it out really well using a brush. So I'll be honest, you guys, I really wasn't feeling my skin like after I was done doing my makeup, and I think it all started like once I started putting on concealer. No fault to like the products I was using. All the products are amazing. I think it's just like my technique today was just like off. I don't know what was going on, but for some reason when I was done with my makeup, I was just like, man, my skin just I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it all the way. But anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to concealer. I'm also using the Juvia's Place Juvia's concealer. This is their Eye Magic concealer. I'm using the shades 15 and 18. I use 15 first to highlight, and then I use 18 on the very inner part of my under eye just to give that area some extra brightness. And I'm gonna blend that out using my Juno & Co microfiber sponge and just go back in with my foundation brush and blend out the edges just to make sure that there's no like line in between my concealer and my foundation. Then I'm gonna go ahead and start setting everything using some powder. I'm using Beauty Bakerie's flower powder in the shade Cassava. This powder is amazing. If you haven't tried it yet, you need to get your hands on it because it's so good. But yeah, definitely go check this one out if you guys are looking for a good setting powder. Plus it's Black owned, so you win twice. Then to set the rest of my face, I'm going to use a MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade NC50. And to bronze, I'm using Becca's Sunlit bronzer in the shade Ipanema Sun. Moving back to the eyes, I'm going to start smoking out that lower lash line. I'm first going to go in with Blue Calm from the Oceanic palette and place that onto the lower lash line. And I'm really making sure to pack that color on so it can show up behind the next transition shades I'm going to use. Then to blend that out, I'm going to go back into Fiji, also from the Oceanic palette. But for this color, I'm going to be using a fluffier brush so I get more of a smoother blend. Then after that, I'm going to go back into Masai and apply that onto the lower lash line as well. For the waterline, I definitely wanted to add some blue, so I'm using an Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Liner. I believe this one is in the shade Chaos, but if it isn't that color, then I'll just make sure to put the correct name down below in the description box. And before I do my lower lash mascara, I'm going to use some of the L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Primer because my lashes are super thin. Like, it's really hard for mascara to kind of grab onto my lashes. So I love to use a primer first so that way my mascara works 10 times better. And then I'm going to go ahead and touch up my brows. For today, I'm using, of course, my tried and true Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Ebony. This is my favorite product to use for my brows. It's like the only product that I use for my brows. So yeah, I'm just going to use an angled brush to create hair-like strokes to fill in all the sparser areas. I'm doing more of like a fluffier type of bushier brow today, so no harsh lines or anything like that. Once I'm done filling it in, I'm going to add some Anastasia Dip Brow Gel, and this one is in the shade Dark Brown. This is just going to make sure that all the hairs stay in place and they're not moving around. And now that my lash primer is dry, I can go ahead and start adding my lower lash mascara. So I'm just using the same mascara that I use on the top lashes. This is Urban Decay's Perversion Mascara. Before I get into highlighting, I'm going to add some facial spray just to kind of rehydrate my skin, make sure all those powders are kind of like molding together. So I'm going to give a few spritz of that and then fan it down to like about 80% or so. And then from there, I like to apply highlighter. For the inner corners of my eyes, I'm going to use this gold green shifting color from the Try palette by Juvia's Place. And then to highlight the rest of my face, I'm going to use Anastasia's loose highlighter in the shade So Hollywood. I think with this highlighter, I'm just going to stick to using it as like a highlight topper versus just like a highlighter on its own. I don't know if it's just me, but at any time I use this highlighter, I feel like it gives like my skin like more texture, like it makes my skin look more textured. But other than that, I really like this highlighter. Like it's super blinding. It's the perfect shade of gold. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that to highlight all the high points of my face. So cheekbones, nose, a little on the forehead, Cupid's bow, as well as the chin. And from there, I'm going to move on to lips. I'm first going to line my lips using the NYX Slide On Lip Liner in the shade Urban Cafe. Don't sleep on these lip liners, guys. They're so good and they come in like a huge range of colors. I'm just going to use this to line my lips for today. I'm going to make sure to also feather in the inner corners, so when I apply my liquid lipstick, everything blends in a lot easier. Then to give my lips a little bit of extra definition, I'm going to use a second lip liner. This one is from ColourPop. It's in the shade Pitch. I'm going to create a really thin line around my lips just to define them a little bit more. Then for lipstick today, I'm using L'Oreal's liquid lipstick from the Infallible Les Chocolat line in the shade Sweet Tooth. This is like one of my favorite neutral colors, so I'm gonna apply that onto my lips using a brush and just make sure to blend it in with the lip liners on the outer corners. And then of course I had to add some gloss. I'm using two glosses today from Too Faced in the shades You Up and Net Worth. And that is pretty much it for this look, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of this look. It's one of my favorites at the moment. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.